My name is Lawrence Semenike, and I'm here to talk about briefly on a very high level how conversational AI, RPA, and cognitive automation can help business leaders make fast decisions. So, why did I pick this topic? I picked this topic because my experience working with senior stakeholders, I've been in scenarios where while I'm trying to respond to a simple question that I should have answered in seconds, led to a loss in a business that were valued in thousands of pounds, because I wasn't able to get a response to that question quickly. So that's what kind of got me into conversational AI, and that is the reason I'm presenting this topic today. Not only that, in as much as right now companies are implementing conversational AI in contact center processes, if looked inwards into other processes, because anyone that has implemented conversational AI in contact center process will tell you the challenges they went through. One of them being that the dispersed data sources, the lack of an API strategy or the necessary APIs to get the things done, the right SMEs being in place, as well as the centralized data sources, having been in place. Now, bringing that internally, considering that operation inefficiencies do exist in every company, how can conversational AI, when paired with other cognitive technologies and RPA, help create value internally as well as externally from the CEO perspective, who is responsible for creating the most value for the business, and which overall, from both perspectives, will have positive impact on the net margin. I'm going to stick from a business case, business manager's perspective, somebody that wants to, has this idea of how to automate a process, or just needs a high level understanding of what to go through. I'll try to stay away from any technical jargons, but if you want to ask me, please use the questions. So a little bit about me. I'm a cognitive experience analyst at Rico Europe PLC. Part of my role is to look at all the processes in service area to see how we can automate it with cognitive technologies. Currently working on several automation projects, including conversational AI. My work experience is around finance, management, consulting, oil and gas, digital services, and public sector. I have a BSc accounting, MSc finance. I'm a certified Azure data science associate. I also identify as Scrum product owner, affiliate member of ACCA, and associate member of BCS. Reading, photography, hiking, kickboxing, light painting. Those are my personal hobbies, when I'm not work, things I get involved in. So these are the questions I'm sure anyone around has heard these questions asked by a CEO. Why? Because they cut across the balance scorecard, finance, customers, internal processes, and learning and growth. The reason I'm sure they ask this question is that they need to, from a conceptual level, understand what needs to be done so that they can be proactive in their decision making, and know how to act, or rather the directives to give. So what if these questions can be answered with conversational AI? It's something that has been bugging me for a long while. So I found that it has actually been done. It is being done. It's just that some of us have not caught up with it. So that's why I'm presenting this presentation today. So coupled with these questions, and as long as the fact that most companies are in their digital transformation journey, considering the pandemic and trying to catch up with other people, these are common questions we see every day. Where are we now in our automation journey? What are the next steps after RPA and conversational AI? How can we combine data sources to extract insights? What other use cases can we solve with cognitive technologies? Do we have the right infrastructure to set up AI at scale, as well as what our competitors doing with AI? Should we be doing the same? These are the questions we tend to see every day when senior stakeholders ask. And these are questions that also present a clear case for automation. Also, to make this case, cognitive automation, to make this case more clear, I'll just run through some stats about process inefficiencies. According to McKinsey and some other references, every year, almost 30% of revenue is lost due to process inefficiencies. 90% of employees are often troubled with tedious and repetitive tasks. Data professionals, which most companies have, spend 60% of their time getting to insights. That's the time they use in gathering the data, looking for the right data source to extract it or not. An employee spends almost 1.8 hours a day, approximately 2 hours, to find relevant data. So assuming a business leader having 100 employees and you're wasting 2 hours a day on this and they pay £50 per hour, you can see the impact already on the operating expenses, which have a clear case that will impact net margin. So these are clear cases for cognitive automation. But just on a high level, I think the next question we need to ask is, what is cognitive automation for those that don't understand what it is now? It is simply the application of machine learning technologies to automate tasks that require manual or cognitive effort to accomplish. Is that straightforward? It is the process of digitizing, augmenting, and automating enterprise-wide decision-making processes. An article by McKinsey that released some time ago claimed showed that companies that have adopted cognitive automation and implemented such has achieved triple-digit ROI, cut down data processing time by almost 60%, automated almost 70% of repetitive tasks, and also achieved up to 30% in labor cost. Before I go further into cognitive automation, I just wanted to talk briefly on traditional automation and how it differs from cognitive automation. Traditional automation operates with a rigid set of rules. So if this is this, do that. That's pretty much traditional operation. Using a use case to explain this, a contact center agent creates a ticket for an order. The RPA, all the RPA needs to do is take the information from that ticketing system. If first name is available, copy it down to the CRM column of first name. If last name is available, all that is a structured data. So with the set of rules it has, the rule says that if all the information are available, as it should be, then click submit order. So that's pretty much traditional automation. Rigid, follows an if set, if/then rules. Then coming to cognitive automation, it's pretty much accepts both structured and unstructured data. And like I said, I really want to stay away from all technical jargons here. So I'll try to explain cognitive automation as simple as possible. One is the ability to see, given which is computer vision. The other is the ability to read, for example, optical character recognition. The other is ability to comprehend, natural language understanding. And the last is the ability to hear, sound processing. But for the purpose of this presentation and this conference, which is conversational AI, I'm just going to stick to natural language. But however, I'm going to walk through a use case explaining this diagram in front of you. An analyst, all right, spends an average of 30 minutes going through contract documentation just to extract the product type and quantity / specifications of a particular product in order to compare that with the P&L he or she's working on to be able to make a decision, all right? 30 minutes, and the whole process takes about an hour. So using Vision API and natural understanding, this process was able to automate it and the RPA was put in place. Once the automation produces the structured data in JSON format, the RPA now picks the data to copy and paste into the support tool, which the analyst uses to make decision and classify the P&L. So that is cognitive automation. And this led to 1 FTE savings in that team over time, and the analyst had time to do other things, advanced analysis. So that's cognitive automation on a high level, and from my understanding. Then, like I said, this is a use case, and I want to walk through this presentation using a use case. And in this case, what I'm going to talk about is Jane D, a CEO of XIQ, an online meeting room lettings platform, wants to explore how conversational AI can be used by leaders and managers across the business to access data for quick and informed decision making. She also believes it will further reduce operational costs. Now, already, this is a scenario where they have already implemented conversational AI in contact center processes and also taking new use cases in contact center to implement it. But now she wants to see if it can be used in other ways, using that same IVA in place, intelligent virtual assistants, but this time in Microsoft Teams, to be able to get information 24/7 on what do our customers think of our service, what are key sales revenue and profit trends, and what employees are at risk of leaving. So starting with the first one, what do our customers think of our service? Remember, like I said, this is a high-level presentation, but I'm going to walk through all the steps as well as what is required. The idea is to help someone to start thinking of what to do if you're thinking about cognitive automation. So in this case, what are customers thinking or think of our service? The intent here from a conversational perspective could be named customer satisfaction, all right? But the entities here that will do most of the work is customers and service. So now you need the service data of all customers, Therefore, how do you do that? Okay, which business areas are affected? In this case, customer service and operations. So what technology stack do you need? You need a conversational AI that understands the intent and extracts entities. We need natural language understanding. In this case, we want to understand what our customers think. So we're looking at sentiment analysis and topic modeling. Then you need the RPA back behind the scenes to do the moving of data where required. And you need data analytics to combine with other data sources to answer questions, subsequent questions that the CEO might ask. Now, but before you do this, you need to run it through a process. I don't have a name for this process, but it is a process that I think every company goes through if they are thinking of implementing use case. First of all, does it align with the strategic objectives? In this case, what do our customers think of our service? Does align with the customer side of our strategic objectives, which could be improve customer satisfaction by X% or reduce turnaround times by X%. So in this case here, what we're looking at here is customer retention, because any leader that has this information at the tips of their fingers should be able to take decisions to be able to improve customer retention or at the very least retain it. Operational excellence, how does it impact internal operations? It definitely impacts, because for such project to be implemented, a lot has to change internally. The way things are done, the systems, there has to be a centralized database. There has to be a different team and a different culture, and team, especially teams that have the right necessary skills. All this eventually will lead to operational excellence, which on the finance side will definitely bring down the cost of operations. So when that is assessed, yes, it aligns with strategic objectives. The next is where are we in our AI maturity stage, metrics. For any company thinking about this kind of use case should be in level 5, which means they are already thinking about the strategic end-to-end automation. AI maturity metrics start from level 0 to level 5, level 0 being no automation at all. Then once that is assessed, you now need to justify this use case. It's great to have this grand use case, but how is it going to make money for the business, or how is it going to reduce costs? Because I believe that's how senior stakeholders think. In this case, the justification here will be cost reduction, because we have this, obviously, the amount of analysts, the back office staffs involved in getting this data in place will be reduced, and they can be used their time to do some pretty much advanced analysis or some other creative engagement that might be required of them. Cost avoidance, it helps manage cost avoidance as well, and also provide insights that can be used for product and process improvement. So once this business case is justified and approved by the right parties, we now need to decide, what do we buy or build? In the sense that, do we buy, there are tools out there that can easily plug in, try an API can do this, or do we build? If you're going to build, we have the right talent, do we have the right team, do we have the right infrastructure? Is our database centralized? Or if it's not centralized, can data easily be linked up in it by a data model to be able to build such stuff? Is the data available? In this case, we are looking at sentiments and words that people use to describe our company. Do we have a means of collecting these sentiments, from social media, take for an instance? If so, can we implement that? These are questions you need to ask. Do we have a way of collecting feedback? If so, can that take that into analysis in the model we are building? Then the right AI vendor, when you're looking at buying, you need to assess that as well. You need to think about AI vendor from strategy, prototyping, implementation, and support. Do they meet all the criteria you're looking for? Do they have the right references? And do they have the right capabilities and experiences as well to be able to deliver this? These are the things that you need to take into consideration. And once you make this decision, I think the next stage will now be to develop the use case. Here you think about your UI technical design. UI means that the CEO wants to use the teams, get this information on Teams. So that means how best visually can we present this on Teams? That means we are thinking custom UI. We need to work with a UI designer. This goes back to having the right talent. to think, okay, what are the available custom UI for teams, and how can we present this information in the graph? Then from there, you can now work backwards to think, what are the APIs required to make this happen, where the technical design comes in. API strategy is probably the most important thing in everything here, because if you do not have the right set of APIs, something is going to go wrong or it's going to delay the project. So making sure you take out time to technically look through all the APIs required to make this happen matters. Then once this is sorted and signed off and approved, that's where you think about AI product management, where you use the CRIPS-DM process. Already we have the business understanding. Then you need to understand the data. We need to do this. We need to prepare the data. This is where we clean the data and select futures as well. Then you need to go for modeling. This is where you select the model, because we're looking at sentiment analysis. Maybe we can use naive Bayes, model in this case to build the models. And then you think about evaluation as well. And when thinking about evaluation, it's always good to compare the accuracy of the model and the business requirements. This has to be taken into consideration, and discussions has to be around this. Then you think about deployment. Deployment here is still back to the team. So we need to think how we can do that through an API to connect to the UI of a Microsoft Teams. So then subsequently, we need to think about reporting and what other things we can do with this use case, if you're thinking about continuous improvement. So for example, once we have the reporting in place and everything is placed, we can further go ahead to answer questions like what was the impact on sales revenue when customer satisfaction did by 5%. That's just one use case. Now, coming back to the second use case, what are key sales and revenue and profit trends? I'm just going to stick on a very high level here because of time, but I'll stick to the things that matter, because it's the same process, but it just cuts across just different business areas and maybe require a different type of modeling to achieve. Now, in this case, the intent here obviously could be, you can call it whatever you want, but the entities here is obviously key sales, revenues, and profit trend. And to achieve this, we have an API for profit trends, which means for how do we calculate profit trends, we look at net margin. So there has to be an API in place that was already built for that net margin to be in place. Then you need to think about the revenue as well. Do we have all the APIs? And if there is none, can we build one? Can we just write a script to be able to do these calculations that can be passed, to the model? Then we think about natural language generation. This is where you think about your content determination, your data interpretation, your document planning, as well as sentence aggregation and grammatization. This will help you think how best to present this report, to the stakeholder on the UI they are insisting, which is Microsoft Teams. This is where natural language generation comes in. So it's the same process as well, but on the strategy side of things here, we're looking at the finance, which is revenue growth. It will definitely impact revenue growth once they have this information. On the click, you can know what to do, financial efficiency, as well as operations efficiency. Having this example, for example, seeing a profit trend dip on the graph on your phone, you could easily ask the question, why is this dipping? You can ask what channels is contributing to this dip. This is how it helps manage operational efficiencies. So in the business case here, what to justify is revenue generation, which you have to be very specific, in terms of numbers, as well as the fact that it's going to lead to revenue leakage mitigation. That means you can easily spot trends where you can quickly take proactive actions to be able to avoid this. So same process goes for build or buy, as well as use case development. But on the analytics reporting, this is where, continuous delivery comes in, where you start thinking, okay, what else can we do? Now we have this in place, this process in place that can easily do this. How can we combine with other data sources in finance, sales, customer service to answer questions, like what is our sales forecast for next month? This might require time series modeling to be able to do that, which goes through this process as well to be able to present that on the screen. Now, in the last use case, which I think is quite important for any CEO, it's which employees are at the risk of leaving. And the business area affected is HR and operations. And why is this important? The cost of replacing a top employee, as everyone knows, is almost 4 times more than keeping that employee. So this is quite a good one for an employee to be able to get a response quickly and to avoid such costs. Not only if a top employee leaves, not only do you think about the cost, you should also think about the impact on the daily operations, because it will definitely affect daily operations, which will have indirect costs that will further impact on the operations margin. So this is why you need to make sure it aligns with the strategic objectives when building up this case. And also on the business case side of things, you need to think about risk mitigation. In this case, avoiding the top employees to leave, and cost avoidance, making sure you avoid a scenario where you have to recruit to replace that top employee. So it goes through that process as well. And at the end, we could a CEO could get on Teams periodic reports on top employees that are at the risk of quitting. There are so many use cases that can be adopted, solved using this process. Some being password reset or book annual leave, which cuts across IT and HR. Others being understanding what your employees are thinking about the company, which requires sentiment analysis and topic modeling as well. And a finance analyst that spends almost half of the time to just gather data. This, along with natural language generation, RPA data and conversation, all this can be automated and the response previewed on whatever platform internal to the company. Now, this will eventually impact on operating expenses, which obviously will have a positive impact on the net margin. Now, coming to considerations that we need to think about, we need to make sure that the use case aligns with the automation strategy as well as the strategic objectives. We need to understand where we are in our AI maturity, in the AI maturity metrics. We need to assess the business case of the use case. We need to build an AI roadmap. We need to think about AI center of excellence. Do we have a centralized or decentralized? They are the ones responsible for managing the overall AI vision as well as assessing the return on investment and maintaining the roadmap. Then we need to reporting and change management. Such use cases come with a lot of change. So we need to think how we can manage this internally to ensure it doesn't affect operations or anything at all. Some other use case considerations include, do we have the right AI first teams? And do we have, are we agile / product focused? Do we have the right AI governance in place? And are we clear about the architecture to be able to put these use cases in place? So that is my presentation on a very high level. And thank you very much. And I hope somebody out there were able to, just think about how this could help you